My journey across America on $5 a day, which I called Amazing Adventures of a Nobody, really taught me that travel is the school of life. I've learnt so much on my journeys. I've learnt good things, I've learnt bad things, but the most important thing that I've learnt is about connection. And it's that it's so important that I see you and that you see me, and that I hear you and that you hear me. And for some reason, it took me quitting my job, traveling around America on $5 a day, relying entirely on the kindness of strangers to kind of cement that in my soul, that human connection is the most powerful thing we possess. And too many of us kind of don't think about that. It's like it's not important, but I found that truly it is the most important thing, to be seen. I find that when I come home from my travels, I see people on their smartphones. They're not connecting with each other. They think they are, Facebooking, tweeting, Instagramming, and there's nothing wrong with that. But to me, true connection is face-to-face. True connection is me having a chat with you, you seeing me, me seeing you. And I remember this very clearly. I came back from a trip. I was in Oman in the Middle East, and I realized how they weren't as connected, meaning on iPhones and iPads and computers and all this kind of stuff, and yet they seemed so much happier. And I came home and I saw everyone on their phones, and I realized I'm going to do a detox. I'm going to do a connectivity detox. So I turned off my phone, I turned off my computer, and I started to connect with my friends, with my family, with strangers, without the use of phones. And what I realized was that true connectivity is not on the phones, and true connectivity is face-to-face. And my tips really, it's not just about traveling, it's about everyday life. It's turn off your phone. Truly, try it. Try it for one day. That's my tip. For one 24-hour period, turn your phone off. I assure you, you will feel at the beginning a little bit, how do I put this, stressed out and a lot of anxiety. But after a while, there's a calmness that comes in, calmness that comes through. So that's my tip. Do a 24-hour detox. What I would ultimately want people to gain from my journey across the world is that everyone can live their dreams. And I say that because as a kid and as a young adult, I was following other people's dreams. I was working as a broker and I was doing things that I felt other people wanted me to do. And I didn't have the courage to go out there and create my own life. And then one day I watched the movie The Motorcycle Diaries, which truly inspired me. And I had an epiphany, and I realized that the movie's about Che Guevara traveling across to South America, relying on the kindness of strangers. And I realized that it's a romanticized version, but I realized that if he could do this, and he could go out and live the life he wanted to live, then so could I. If he could live his dream in the movie, then so could I. And if I can live my dream, which is to travel the world, to connect with people, to bring it back, and to share it, then so can you. The Salman Rushdie quote, "To understand one life, you must swallow the world," is pretty profound to me. And it basically goes back to this issue of connection. Too many of us are an island, but the truth is, no man is an island. We are all one. And when you go out into the world and you experience all these different cultures, you realize that yes, on one level we're all different, but on one level we're all the same. You have the mother in Cambodia who loves her kids. You have the mother in America who loves her kids. You have all these different personalities and different experiences, yet they are all one. And that, to me, is what Salman Rushdie is talking about. You go out, you experience the world, and therefore you experience your own life and other people's lives. The first one is America. I think there's a generosity of spirit in this country that's truly profound. there's a goodness in people's hearts, and I've traveled all across America multiple times, and I feel it. Every day I'm on the road, I feel the goodness. Secondly, I'd say Bhutan. Bhutan is a little country to the northern east of India, and they have this thing called gross national happiness, where they determine the happiness or the success of the country not based on how much money they make, but on how happy the people are. And I felt this sense of joie de vivre that they have in their souls. They're so joyful and so happy, and they were tremendously kind to me. Another place I would say would be India, to be honest with you. India is a smorgasbord of culture and colours and sounds, but deep inside their souls, the Indians are a wonderful people. And I received so much kindness from people who had nothing really, you know, and I found that in India I thought to myself, oh, you know, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this. How am I going to do this? These people don't have a lot, but they had a lot inside their hearts, inside their souls. So I'd say those 3 countries. I'm going to choose America. I know it's a big place, but I've made America my home, and I've traveled probably most extensively in America than I have anywhere else in the world. There are far more than 5 places, but I'm going to pick 5 in no specific order. I'm a history buff, so I would say the number 1 place to visit would be the Ford Theatre in Washington, D.C., where Lincoln was assassinated. You can then go to the house where he actually died, and you can go into the room and see the bed, and it's a very moving experience to see the history of America basically unfolding in front of your eyes. So Washington DC, the Ford Theatre would be the first place. Los Angeles, where I live, I love Los Angeles. It's beautiful weather, always 72 degrees, well, sometimes more. But when you grow up in England and it's always raining, LA has this magical draw. The ocean is nearby, the mountains are nearby, it's a great nightlife. So you always, if you come to America, try and make a pit stop in Los Angeles. Third place would really be a road trip. If you could do a road trip across America, you would really get the essence of this country. Again, east to west, west to east, and specifically in the Midwest. I've found the people in the Midwest to be some of the most genuine people you can meet. So road trip across the Midwest. Number 4, Las Vegas. Just for 2 days, 2 nights. You can't come to America without going to Vegas. It's a crazy place, but if you want to have some fun, and as they say, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas, but don't get too naughty. And then I'd say number 5 would really be Times Square. Times Square is, yes, it's like the center of capitalism. You've got all these billboards and everything like that, but it's such an energetic place. You go there and you feel energized. It's one of my favorite places actually. Whenever I go to New York, I know I started my first journey actually in Times Square, from Times Square to the Hollywood sign, but Times Square has this magical energy about it. So I'd say those 5 places. My favorite travel movie? Well, that is an easy one for me to answer. It's actually the movie The Motorcycle Diaries. I was completely inspired by that movie. It's a romanticized version of Che Guevara traveling across South America, relying entirely on the kindness of strangers. And I watched that when I was a broker in London, totally uninspired with life, I felt disconnected and really, to be honest with you, very depressed. And I watched this movie, and Che's father in the movie wanted him to become a doctor. And Che was like, I don't want to be a doctor. I want to go and travel the world. And he made a break with his father, and he traveled across South America, and he met all these people, and he inspired these people, and he was inspired by them. And it showed me that he had this sense of freedom. He had this sense of purpose. Again, a romanticized version of the real man. And it was just such a powerful movie for me. It inspired me to have belief in myself, and it inspired me to believe that anything was possible. And really from that moment after watching that movie, my life changed. So if you want to feel like a sense of freedom and a sense of anything is possible, then I would suggest watching that movie. My favorite traveling companion when I'm not alone? It's an excellent question. Well, I have a little Boston Terrier called Winston Churchill. He's 12 and a half years old now, and he loves me very much, but he doesn't love me when I leave him. And because of my job, I have to leave him quite often. So when I return home, he kind of ignores me for, I'd say like 4 or 5 days, literally, he just ignores me. And the only way that I can find for him to kind of like reconnect with me is to take him on a little trip. So when I come home, after like the 5-day period of him hating me, I take him on like a 2 or 3 day trip, and we go wherever. We get in the car, and I don't know, we go to San Diego or we go to Malibu. So I'd say the answer to that question is my little 12-and-a-half-year-old Boston Terrier, Winston Churchill, who is a traveller in his own heart, but he can't travel as much as his dad. My favourite international airline? You know, I'd have to say Korean Airlines. I travelled with them, actually. I've only travelled with them twice, but they were just amazing. I found myself in economy, and I felt like I was in business class, so definitely Korean Airlines. Honestly, I'd have to say it's a toss-up between America and Bhutan. And I'm not just saying America because I live here and I don't want to piss you all off. I'm saying it because I really believe it. Like I said, I've traveled extensively in America, and there's a generosity of spirit in this country that is pretty much second to none. But also Bhutan, like I said, they have this gross national happiness. There's something about the Bhutanese that I met anyway that was truly wonderful, truly wonderful. It was soul enriching. So if I had to choose between America and Bhutan, I'd say Bhutan, but only by 0.5 millimeter. The best way to pass the time whilst traveling is actually driving. I love driving, and I love driving in weird and wonderful locations. So, you know, I drive and I listen to music, and I go from A to B, and I end up becoming a more meditative person and experiencing the local cultures firsthand. I've had the good fortune of traveling extensively. I mean, I've been to over 90 countries, and I've experienced so many wonderful things. That's a kind of a difficult question, to be honest. But I'd say that probably the most exotic place I've been to is the Gobi Desert in Mongolia. I remember very clearly. It was like 2 a.m. in the morning. I was driving through the desert, and I decided to stop, and I looked up into the skies, and I saw the most amazing sight. It was like the stars were as if they'd been photoshopped. It was so beautiful. It wasn't just beautiful on like a mind level, it was beautiful on like a heart level, on a soul level. And I think I'd have to say Mongolia, because it just touched me. It touched me in such a deep place. I mean, look, I've traveled extensively without anything. So I would say that when I'm doing my journeys without any money, I'm quite able to travel without anything. But assuming I'm doing a journey with some money, I think one of the most important things for me is music. So it would be my iPod. I think music is the language of the soul. I would say the second thing is the spirit of wanderlust. If you don't have that spirit inside you when you travel, then you don't fully experience all the delicacies that you can kind of like be a part of. And I'm not talking about food, I'm just talking about culture, I'm talking about people, I'm talking about connectivity. I'd say the third thing is my lucky red jacket. I have this red jacket that actually is now pink because it's been so well traveled that it's turned pink, but I like to call it red. I've had it for like 15 years, and it's my lucky jacket, and it's kept me safe. And it keeps on kind of breaking down. It kind of like breaks and stuff, and I keep fixing it. So I'd say that would be my third thing. And my fourth thing would be a lucky black backpack, which I've also had for like 15 years. I always travel with. So I'm big into luck, or faith maybe. Maybe it's faith. So I'd say those 4 things. My favorite travel quote. There are so many quotes out there, but without a shadow of a doubt, it's the following one, which to this day, I don't know who said it, so if you do, please let me know. But it's simple. It's travel is the only thing you buy that makes you richer. You know, one thing that I've learned on my travels is that when we are in someone else's country, we are in their home. We are part of their community. We are guests, visitors, and we have to be respectful of that. And I think it's very, very important to be fully aware that, like for example, when someone comes to your house, they have to behave in a respectful fashion. Well, they don't have to, but you would imagine that they would. So I think as a conscientious traveller, it's to try and learn as much as you can from that culture, and also to try and give back as much as you can to that culture. For example, I remember very clearly I was in where was I? I guess I don't remember it that clearly. No, I was in India, and actually I wasn't doing one of my journeys. And I decided that I was in this really nice hotel, and I decided that it was really important that I gave back in that moment. Like, if you've been to India, you know what I mean. There's a lot of poverty. So I asked the concierge, I said to them, look, can you send me to an orphanage? I want to go to an orphanage and I just want to go and be of service. So they said, yeah, sure, no problem. They sent me to this orphanage down the road, and I spent the day there. And I'm sharing this story not because I want you to know that I went to an orphanage and helped out. I'm sharing it because basically everyone can be of service. Everyone can help. And if you go to another country, you can give of yourself. They're giving of you. They're giving of themselves every day. You're going there. You're their guests. So what a wonderful way to be able to give back. Just in a small way. I spent 7-8 hours there, but you can give back in a small way every time you go and travel. And you take that part of that country with you and you bring it home. And it's such a powerful thing to be able to share your gifts with others, and specifically when you're in someone else's home and someone else's environment. To not go there and think, oh, well, you know, I'm paying all this money. No, it's not about that. You know, they're there for you and you're there for them. Well, the Kindness Diaries is actually a book and also a show. I travelled around the world, circumnavigated the globe on kindness. I bought myself a vintage yellow motorbike called Kindness One, sort of like Air Force One, but a little bit yellower. And I relied on kindness. I had no money, no food, no place to stay, nothing. But there was a little bit of a twist. And the twist was that unsuspecting Good Samaritans received a life-changing gift. Because I've realised that kindness is not a one-way street. Kindness is a two-way street. It's about giving and it's about receiving. So I wanted to go on this journey, experience all the beauty of the world, and you know, the not so beautiful things in the world, because things aren't always wonderful, as my journey will attest if you watch the show or read the book. But it was basically a trip around the world to inspire people, if I could, to go out, A, to live their dreams, and B, to realise that kindness is not weakness. Kindness is power. What is the next adventure? Well, I always like pushing myself in my travels, and this time I think that I'm maybe pushing myself a little too far, but we'll see. I'm sure it'll all work itself out. I'm basically going to be driving from the tip of South Africa, the southernmost tip, to the northernmost tip of Finland. And there's going to be a little life-changing twist attached to this journey as well. Similar to the Kindness Diaries, but a little bit different. I'm not going to share that just yet. You'll have to wait for me to start my journey. But truly, you know, travel has changed my life. It has inspired me to be the man I am today. And I hope in some small way, through maybe the Kindness Diaries or maybe through my upcoming Africa journey, it'll inspire you to go out and live your dreams and realize that you truly can be the best you can be. And don't let anyone stop you from that.